Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So, as I often do, I came across this video that caught my attention a few days ago, and I wanted to talk about it. As I said, when I find videos or articles that just reaffirm some of the stuff that I've already said. As I said, I've always wanted to allow Black Brazilians to speak their own perspective because oftentimes there's an accusation that says a Black American is going to impose his or her views on what's going on in Brazil. And I never wanted to do that. When I created Black Brazil Today, which started off as Black Women in Brazil back in 2011, that was the objective of the blog, was to present material that was coming out speaking about the situation in Brazil in terms of race, but also to allow Black Brazilians to share a lot of that stuff I was referencing was coming directly from Black-oriented blogs, or I got into videos, might have been social network accounts. And I says, okay, you don't have to listen to what I say, but let's hear what Black Brazilians have to say about this. So I saw this video a few days ago, and I had actually done a video maybe a couple months ago that kind of went viral. It's kind of talking about the same topic. And this attitude has always existed in Brazil, whether Brazilians want to admit it or not. So the title of today's video, Race and Dating in Brazil. You're pretty, but I can't take you home to my family because you're Black. I mean, what else needs to be said? I think that kind of the title probably says it all. But I want to go a little bit further, as I always do, put it into context and actually, show the video where I'm reviewing today. So before I do that, make sure you like this video, share this video, comment on this video. What do you tell me what you think after you hear the full material? Definitely consider subscribing to the channel and clicking on that notification bell so that you'll get my videos as soon as I put them up. So with that said, I want to go ahead and check out today's video and put it into context. So this young lady, I don't know where this video was recorded, but because of something that the interviewer said to her, I'm starting to understand. Well, from what I've seen online, some people are saying that the word that he actually used in part of the interview is a word that people use in the streets of a city called Curitiba in southern Brazil. I'm not sure. I didn't see where the video was recorded, but it doesn't change the meaning. So let's just get into it. What's the necessity of reviewing this video today? There's a few reasons. Number one, interracial unions has always been Brazil's way of denying that racism or racial inequality exists in Brazil. Well, look at all of the interracial unions. Look at all the mixed race people in Brazil. How can you say that racism exists? Well, as I talked about, there's been numerous videos and articles that I've done over the years that say when Brazil set in motion for the country to start mixing, they imported more Europeans after right before they abolished slavery. They started opening up the Brazilian borders to accept specifically white immigrants from Europe. The idea was to promote miscegenation, race mixing, in order that within 2 to 3 generations, the Black and brown element of Brazil would completely disappear. So right there, the ideal of the country was to whiten. It was not to say, let's all mix so that there's no Black and white. No, let's mix 2 to 3 times per generation for Black and brown people so that eventually those people become either white or something close to white. It is one of the pillars that Brazil has defined itself as a racial democracy for years, even though we know now, we've actually known since the 1940s that Brazil is not a racial democracy. The other thing I have to point out here is that when it comes to dating, as I said, historically, the idea was to whiten the population, not to blacken it. So the superior status was always given to the white body. The idea was that Brazil wanted to present its population as a white population. So it's not that let's mix again and just all be mixed. No, the end goal, as numerous people have pointed out, is to get to a certain whiteness. Okay. Black Brazilians have always sought this sort of validation through whiteness. There was an article I did, I don't know, several years ago, and it was just like, the validation that Black people seek in Brazil is being with a white partner, which makes having a Black relationship complex, because in reality, both the Black male and the Black female still have this ideal in their mind, like, I'll accept a Black person if necessary, but I would prefer to get that white person. That white person validates my life. Look, I'm worthy of something because I have a white partner. Now, there's going to be some people who disagree with that, some people who will deny that, some people who will admit it. Over the last decade and a half, there's been this push among Black Brazilians to the promotion of Black couples, what they call amor afrocentrado, saying Afrocentric couples. They finally realized, like, look, if we're going to get anywhere, we need to create a unity between Black men and Black women that was really never there. As I said, in the United States, Black people were, from the beginning, says, look, we need to have unity between the Black man and the Black woman. In Brazil, it was promoted that you Black people should, the ideal for you, the necessity that's been put in the minds of a lot of Black Brazilians is that they have to have a white partner. They have to whiten their children. So it was the exact opposite of what's going on in the United States. The other thing I want to point out here, and this is part of the IG page that I'm citing here, they also mention this later on, this idea that, well, Black people in Brazil are lacking a type of nationalism, right? And then when Black Brazilians start promoting nationalism, they get accused of being racist, when every other ethnic group in Brazil practices this. There's numerous examples of this. So anyway, let me get into the video for today. First, I'm going to just overdub what the young lady said in this street interview. So the question was, what was the most absurd thing you've ever heard from your ex? Right. So I'm just going to go ahead and just overdub the video. You can hear what the lady says for herself. What's the most absurd thing you've ever heard from an ex? That I was Black. Really? Yes, he said, you're pretty, but I can't introduce you to my family because you're Black. So, I mean, what else can be said there? The girl said it all. I mean, what else can we take from that? Now, I would suggest, and I'm assuming that she was talking about a white guy, but in Brazil, you just never know. It could have been a Black guy that told her that. But let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that she is talking about a white guy. This is something that we've heard for years. When I started hanging out in Brazil, when I started particularly paying attention to what people were saying on social networks, this was a common thing that I've heard, whether it be in Facebook or in the comment sections on Instagram or in the previous social network that never really caught on in the United States. It was called Orkut, what Brazilians call Orkut. It was some years before Facebook would take over, before Brazilians started drifting over to Facebook, and eventually Orkut just came to an end. But I mean, she said it all. So the Instagram page that posted this video, this is what it said underneath or with the video. It says, Black people face many obstacles, and one of them is having a fulfilling love life. In the case of Brazil, where the Black community dilutes its affections among individuals who don't share the same pain, something that is more common in African countries and in the United States, one of these barriers is the racism that is ingrained in every person born and raised here. And I include us Black people too, in the sense that we are taught to love white people and dislike our peers, forcing some of our brothers and sisters into relationships with those who deep down don't respect or love you as you are. I'm not saying that we should condemn interracial relationships, but I am questioning why even foreigners who come here continue to strengthen their community. Just go to the Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Arab, German neighborhoods formed in Brazil, and you'll see that there's a strong sense of identity maintenance. Of course, we can always discuss the prejudices contained in this attitude, but we can also question how long the Black community will continue to be whitewashed and mistreated under the aegis of miscegenation. It's a conversation full of nuances that can't be covered in one post. And no, it's not the girl's fault for suffering racism in a relationship. But with each failed experience under the problem of racial bias, we need to rethink. So again, I want to point out that this is from an IG page. It's called Pretescencias, like Black essences, how you could translate that. So that's what the comment just read there when they introduced the video. And there's a lot that they unpacked right there. I mean, everything that they said is true. Opposite from what goes on in African countries, as well as Black communities in the United States, where people have a nationalistic attitude, says we need to be one, Black men and Black women. Black Brazilians were taught the actual opposite. They were taught to pursue whiteness. They were taught, don't bring another black person home. That's no good. You're already black. Why are you going to bring another black person home? And it's only been in recent generations, recent decades, that Black Brazilians have beginning to address why is it that they think that way. So even with the call for Black power in Brazil, Black money movement in Brazil, I continue to say this: as long as you have this pursuit of whiteness, everything else is not going to matter. Why is it going to matter within a few generations with everybody wanting to mix and create lighter kids until they become white? So again, it comes back to the question of mixing. It's not that mixing is wrong. It's just the point that if you don't have any sort of nationalism in your community, how is a community supposed to advance? As we saw in the comment here, what the IG page said, like, look at all of these communities. When I was in Sao Paulo, numerous people would point out to me, and I knew people who worked. I knew people who worked in like majority Japanese businesses, and they says, look, Japanese people, they keep everything in their community. You know, when they need services, they go to another Japanese person. You know, they got a Japanese person who does their deliveries. You know, the salon is mostly Japanese people, and you know, Japanese people build a certain base of power. And other groups that come in, you know, Brazil long had German. I've never been to the Brazil South, but they talk about how there are German and Italian neighborhoods. These were a lot of the Europeans that came into Brazil between 1870 and 1940, and they established like these European strongholds in certain states, certain cities, certain neighborhoods. Whereas Black people are taught, look, y'all should just mix. These other ethnic communities, they keep their force, they try to build strength in their community, and Black people are taught the exact opposite, which explains where Black Brazilians are today. So what are people saying in the comment section? She says, the first one says, anyway, when we speak, it's me. So what she's saying is that when we talk about this, people accuse us of just whining. But this is a legitimate question. Number two says, I don't even have words to say what I think of a guy who does that. And let's make it clear. There are a lot of Black women who have experienced this. Like, they won't mind having fun with a Black girl, but then it's like, I'm not going to take you home. Now, I could show a whole lot of proof of this. This is something that I've documented for a long time. There was one article that I did some years ago, and I can't remember the exact name of the article, but it was something to the degree of a Black Brazilian girl wrote this in her blog. She says, I'm tired of being just a hole for white boys, is what she said. Not my words, this is what she said. And a lot of Black women come into this realization. There was another article I did, I have to think of the name of it, but another Black woman said the same thing. She's like, I don't deal with white men because they just use Black women for whatever. So, and it's not for me to be able to teach people that. You, based on your own experiences, this is something you have to grasp. The problem that Black Brazilian women are going to deal with is that there are Black men who treat them the same way as how white men treat them. What are they supposed to do? The third comment says, and I can't wait to present my Black man at home. Now, I don't know who's actually said that. I have to look at the profile of that person. I don't know if they're saying this to be ironic or they're saying, look, I'm proud to take home my Black man. I'm not sure what they meant by that comment, but let's keep going on here. Number 4, and when Black men have the opportunity to appreciate Black women, they don't do it. He says, I love Black women. Eu amo. You say, amo as pretas. That's what that says right here. And then the 5th comment is a little bit longer. It says, it's really complex. I'm white and I have been married to a Black woman for 24 years. Our families get along very well and there have never been any problems related to racism. Our son was born white with light eyes and thick lips. He's beautiful. We chose as his godmother one of my wife's cousins, an authentic Black person. My wife was adored by her mother-in-law, my mother. Until her death at the age of 93, they had a beautiful relationship. In short, we lived in harmony on this subject. Despite our positive experience, we can't deny the structural racism that plagues our country. Racism exists in many forms and must be combated. A lot going on there. I definitely want to point out that I'm not saying every interracial union is going to have a racist element to it. Of course, there are possibilities that people can marry and have children across racial lines, and it's not a problem. I'm just pointing out that side by side with that, that's kind of how I see the whole race question today. because I have known a lot of white people who I've gotten along with. I sincerely feel that they look at me and my family as just human beings or whatever. And then you have other white people who you just get a sense from them that they're just not comfortable with your presence. So the two, and this is what makes race relations difficult, but you never know the person that you come across or that you're dealing with. You never know where they're coming from, right? But if you interact with them long enough, it eventually comes out. So um, the sixth comment says Malcolm X said that black people are sleeping, right? Bem que Malcolm diz que o povo preto está dormindo, okay? A lot. Malcolm X's words are big in Brazil as well. I've talked about that in previous videos. 7 says, there was a section of my first boyfriend's family that I never met because he knew they'd be racist towards me. So he just keep playing me and never take me on these kind of meetings with his grandmother and uncle. So another experience of another black Brazilian woman. Number 8 says, is a black woman looking for a white guy to date racist? That's a whole nother can I'm not going to address right here. As I've just said, that it's impossible to be able to just throw everybody, millions of people into one group and say, oh, all of you guys are self-hating black people. When there's so many different nuances there. Maybe they never found a person who looked like them, who was interested in them. Maybe relationships never worked out. Maybe they are somebody who prefers to date across racial lines. It's too much to be able to take one comment and say what is true or not, because you got almost 210 215 million Brazilians, and they all got their own experiences. So the other thing I want to point out here, and I think I did kind of point this out before, when you look at interracial unions in Brazil, it is white people who are put at an advantage because black people are taught to go after white people because of the whiteness, because of what it says about them as people. Like, look, you must have value if you got a white person at your side. And it also says that I'm going to lighten my generation. I'm going to lighten my offspring until eventually they reach whiteness. So it is the idea of whitening, not blackening the population. So the white person is given the higher status. I've said this about white women. If they can't get a high value white man, they can go down, socially. I'll say in the social hierarchy, the black and brown population is considered beneath the white population. If she can't get a high value black man, she can go down to the black and brown. If she can't get a high value white man, she can go to the black and brown men and take among the best that they have, even though there's a smaller pool of available high value black men and brown men, and she could take one of them. So again, it gives a white woman an advantage in Brazil. Now, this goes to talk, the other discussion that has to go on is black Brazilians themselves finding beauty in black bodies and deconstructing the ideal standard of whiteness. This is an article from 2019, and that's what just talking about, because black Brazilians, I'm sure most of you will recognize all of these cartoons, because Brazil is bombarded not only with white images in their own media, but everything that comes out of the United States and Europe generally has a white face. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with some of these cartoon figures. So, I mean, what is that? How is it? What is the effect on the black psyche when they're surrounded by standards of beauty that have nothing to do with them? So this article is talking about, why is it so hard to see beauty in black bodies? Realizing something black is beautiful is a stone that strikes us and how it strikes. Black Brazilians have only in the last few decades been starting to question the standards of beauty imposed upon them in Black Brazil. And even so, realizing that, you still see this still preference for whiteness when you look at, like definitely high profile Black Brazilians. What else do we have here? A masculine status, the social obligation of the Brazilian man is to show off a white wife with whom to start a family. That is just very true. As I've known a number of solidly middle-class black men in Brazil, and most of them are going to be married white. It's only been in recent years that you'll see advertisements in the United States that feature an interracial couple, but in Brazil, it's pretty much the norm. I took this picture some years ago. This is I think it's like it's a box of ice cream. You see the interracial couple on the box. This is a couple from a novella called Novo Mundo. So this is what I'm saying. Black Brazilians have been always indoctrinated to prefer whiteness. Okay. The general attitude in Brazil. This is an article from 2018. All of these can be found at the blackbraziltoday.com blog. How do you prefer a black over a white? The act of breaking our racial submission by loving our own. What else can be said there? this article is basically saying Black Brazilians have a very submissive role in the dating world. In the Brazilian society as a whole, Black Brazilians are cast at the bottom, and that includes in the dating world, being taught that you should choose to whiten your offspring and have a white person at your side. An article I did some years ago, Black men and Black women were dating, and the Black guy told the woman, "Is like, look, I'm with you for now, but I have to have somebody white at my side." He told her that. So this is the complexity of dating in Brazil when you're Black, when you're still overcome with the adoration of whiteness. This is Lele. She's a popular dancer and actor, and this is Jonathan Azevedo. They were a couple for a minute, but I just remember that they weren't together long. I think he kind of got with her because people were calling him a palmiteiro, these Black men who only date white women. So then he was seen with Lelezinha for a little while, and then that relationship ended. And next thing you know, he was with a white girl and he had kids with her. This is kind of like when you study the situation in Brazil, you constantly come across this. So this is what they're saying here. We have to be able to build the self-love amongst ourselves so that we can start building Black families. It's really the only way. The change in the psychology of the Black Brazilian, this is something that has to be, continuously discussed, or you're going to continually have these situations where I don't mind dating you. We can spend some time together. We can have some fun, but I'm not going to take you home to my family. The one way you can avoid that is if Black people educate themselves, take on a certain consciousness, understand the need for Black men and Black women to get together to build Black families, and they won't have to deal with that. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. If you remember, a couple months back, I actually did this video about the actor Rafael Zulu, and he was basically saying the same thing. They like the Black body to smash, but not to take home to the family. This is something that you hear in Brazil all the time. So this video that I'm doing today is nothing new. So anyway, what did you think about today's video? Definitely drop a comment in the comment section, get this conversation started. Like this video, share this video, consider subscribing to the channel, click on the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. And with that said, I'm going to end this video here and request that you all come back. Check out the next video that I post.